Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending what is likely to be one of the shortest Cabinet meetings ever at Firehill. We are here really just to discuss one issue, but we will go through the normal agenda proceedings, starting off with declarations of interest.
Rare occasion, but no.
Well, it makes a pleasant change, doesn't it,
No.
after the past few meetings. Do we have any urgent items, Chief Executive?
No urgent items this evening, Chairman.
Thank you. So we are now passing on to items for decision, which is the replacement of the motorised boats at Fairhaven Lake, and I think you, Mr Walker, are going to introduce this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, members. The report concerns the replacement of the motorboats at Fairhaven Lake. Many members will be aware of the boat service that the Council provides at Fairhaven Lake, and it consists of a number of teak motorboats, which are many years old now. There is a launch and a variety of non-motorised fleets, such as canoes, rowing boats and pedalows. The service is provided by Council staff, and it's true to say that over the years the fleet have been lovingly maintained by the staff each winter in order to get the fleet ready and able for the new season. Each season those repairs have been sort of incremental, so every year there's been a patching here and a patching there, and there's been a few events this summer that have resulted in problems with the engine mountings and the ventilation on those mountings, which have meant that there was, on one occasion, there was a fire on one of those boats. It had a health and safety subsequent inspection, and as a result of which the fleet, where it was felt that the fleet could not manage for the rest of the season. The officers have looked at some options now for what to do moving forward, given that the fleet is not now in a suitable condition to be used for next year. And I've come up with a proposal for a replacement boat service that consists of an electric boat. And the report in front of you, Chairman, talks about the merits of that, moving to an electric system. The proposal in front of you is to replace the existing 17 teak motorboats with 10 fiberglass electric boats in the first instance. And it's believed that those will be more popular and more modern than the existing fleet, and should be enjoyed by many of the users on the lake. There's also a proposal to retain 4 of the original teak motorboats, to retain the best of those, and to look at putting into those, retrofitting into those, an electric motor. Now that's not been confirmed as to whether that's possible at the moment, but it's certainly a possibility that we're looking into, and that will be done using existing revenue funds. I'll hand over to Mark now to see if he's got any more to say, any more details to give you before we open it for any questions. Thank you.
Good evening, members. I'll not reiterate what Paul's gone through though, regarding the historic service that we've run down at Fairhaven. Just to add to that, there's numerous benefits with moving over to an electric form of craft as opposed to an unleaded petrol running craft at the moment. One is we feel that the running cost of the service can be greatly reduced, both on fuel and on winter repairs, as Paul's alluded to already. The second one is environmental benefits. Obviously, having 17 teak engines chugging around the lake isn't the best real environmentally friendly day and age. The third benefit is that one of them, in the tender process, we've asked to be fully inclusive. We do receive quite a number of complaints of people with certain disabilities. So you can have someone in a wheelchair sat on the quayside while their family go around in the boat, which, you know, again, in this day and age isn't quite right. So the proposal would be, well, the tender that we put out was for 9 standard electric motorboats with one, what we call an all-inclusive motorboat. And again, they're easy to maintain. We feel also that we could use them longer through the season. So certainly in the winter time, if there's spells of good weather, we could still run that service, as they can quite easily put back out on the water, as opposed to having the engine out and having them patched up in the winter time at the moment. So a small number could certainly be left out through the winter to keep that service running and obviously to bring in extra income. But we'd have to have a look at that operator to see if that's viable. I think that's it, yeah.
Thank you.
Chairman, if I can just make one other observation. Since this report was produced, there has been a tender exercise running which concluded today, and we've been out to tender for the replacement boats, and we hope to report that to this meeting tonight. Within the report in section 12, it talks about the purchase of 10 boats, including one electric, one all-inclusive boat, at a total cost of £50,650. The tenders that we've had back, the best tender is 57,405. So that's over the estimate that was included in the report. Now we've got two options with this, Chairman. One is to try and work with the lowest tenderer to make that price a bit more keener and to see if we can get that price down a bit, and if there is a margin that we can fund from revenue, then try and do that, or the alternative is to reduce the order by one boat. I think it's too early tonight, Chairman, to say which of those options we'll go with, but safe to say that we will contain the budget within the capital budget that is proposed tonight.
Thank you, Mr Walker and Mr Wilde. That's quite a disappointment that the tenders have come in. And I would have thought on an order of this size there was a bit of what is known as wriggle room, room for negotiation on that. However, as you say, it's early days to be talking about that, and I'm sure you will pursue that line of inquiry together with the alternate option to order 9 instead of the 10. Colleagues, any questions for the gentleman at the end?
Yeah, I have, Rita, thank you. I'm glad to see it's all inclusive, and you have mentioned that as well. Can I just ask about security of these? What are we putting in place? Because they won't be housed, will they? You know, they'll be on charge of an evening and through the day.
The current fleet in the evening is taken over to one of the Central Islands, and there's a makeshift harbour over that side, and they're tethered there. That can still happen. The charging mechanism, without getting too technical, isn't something that you'd have on overnight. It's a case of regular charging on a small time scale. So basically, there would be no need for them all housed on the harbour fronts in the evenings to be charging overnight for use in the morning. These dry cell batteries, and I'm no expert, I believe, are just constantly topped up. So after each journey, while they're sat in the harbour waiting for the next person, that's enough to keep them going. So we don't envisage any security, any further security issues.
Thank you. And can I ask what the speed is of these? And do we have to implement any safety issues like jackets or anything?
The speed of them, I can't say exactly what they would be, but basically you can alter the speed to whatever we need it to be. They will be too powerful for the lake and will be adapted on site to suit the conditions of the lake. The main issue is the reverse speed as opposed to forward speed. Obviously that needs to be properly controlled, because as people do, they will put it in reverse and be charging round backwards. There is restrictions. Basically, this system is that flexible. We can dictate exactly the front speed and exactly the reverse speed, and they can be different.
And what about safety jackets? Do we need safety jackets or anything like that in buoyancy aid?
We'll do a full risk assessment on all the boats when they come. Safety jackets and fire extinguishers is what we've been told tonight.
Thank you very much. And I was saying, as the ward councillor, I am very, very happy about this. But it's just I wanted to just tick my little boxes, my little queries. Thank you.
Thank you. That's an interesting point about the speed, because probably other people in the room will remember when there were speedboats and water skiing on Fairhaven Lake. But I'm not suggesting that we go back to that with members of the public hiring boats and charging around at high speed in reverse. Karen, Councillor Buckley, please.
A couple of things. Firstly, about the number of boats. At the moment, 17 teak boats. thinking of now going down to 14 at the moment. Of course, we can always reassess that and look at demand. But thinking of retaining 4 teak boats and then these 10, does that reduce what we have on offer at the moment, or is it the case that of the 17 teak boats, they're not all up to scratch in any event and therefore are not all out? So how does that equate to the demand, and do we think that that's sufficient for now?
Well, you're quite right. The 17 existing teak boats are all in different states of repair. Some are seaworthy, some certainly aren't. There's at least 2 at the moment which don't even look like boats, to be fair, that we're now using them to patch up some of the other ones. And then there's 2 or 3 which are leaking. So every evening they're actually bailed out for the use. Well, in between each trip they're bailed out. Again, obviously not suitable. It depends. There is times where people are queuing, which would mean that all the fleet is out. But I would say on average, the number of boats available, the motorised fleet this is, would range from about 10 to 12 at any one point. Now, that can lead to some queuing, but I think with the transition period that we're changing over to, I think 10 with 3 or 4 of the teak ones with motors in would give us enough fleet to keep customer satisfaction and waiting times to a minimal. If like any business, if this really took off and they became really popular and demand increased, which would be great, then obviously we can bring further ones online with the extra income. But I think to stabilise the service at this point, I think 10 would be adequate, and if we can get 2 or 3, 4 of the teak ones patched up and back on with electric motors, that would certainly suffice.
Great, thank you very much for that. And also, I want to ask you about the savings. As you've talked about income and making savings, and it does mention that in the report, and you'll know that I've been asking about what is the estimated savings, and I understand that part of that we'll have to wait and see, but what figure could you estimate at this point in time?
We feel it's very difficult to give an exact, I know we've talked about this before, very difficult to give an exact saving. My aim is to reduce the expenditure and increase the income over the next 2 or 3 years. I think we can say that an initial 75,000 revenue per annum can be done initially, and that is, at the moment we spend around 2,200 to 2,500 in fuel. Now obviously we're keeping 3 still running on unleaded, then there would be still a small cost for fuel, but that would obviously be next to nothing compared to 2,500. So the majority of that we feel would be saved initially. The electric, I have done some more investigation into the cost of what we think each boat would cost, and on a comparative basis to a similar boat at a similar site, it costs 50p per day to charge. Now, if you multiply about 10 boats over approximately 150 days, that comes between £500 to £750 a year. So there's certainly saving there. There would be some winter staffing resource saving, because obviously the repairs to the timber boats, we wouldn't be repairing the 17, we would only be repairing 3. And that also has a knock-on effect to electric in the workshop, which again, there wouldn't be the heating and the woodworking machinery going. So again, we anticipate another saving there, and obviously some timber and excess screws and whatever on the maintenance of those extra timber boats. And we estimate around £5,000, with hopefully the increase in income and further reduction in expenditure once we've got the 3 or 4 teak boats up to a good standard, so they're seaworthy again.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful to you trying to quantify that. That's really helpful. And just finally, because it was mentioned to us from a colleague last night about the promotion of this service.
I've just written it there, that's fine.
What are we going to do to actually promote this service, get it out there in the public eye, make sure that the people who are visiting and residents know about it, and really make the most of what will be a great new fleet?
Well, I think you're quite right. I think the marketing of this particular service has been poor, to say the least. I think we need to get it on a more business footing. I mean, I'm involved obviously in the grounds maintenance trading. I want to get it on a similar footing, both on cost and marketing wise. and I think there's numerous things we can do regarding. I think the first thing is to decide which one of these, and these will be bespoke to Fairhaven, and I think the company wants to class this as the Fairhaven range in their publicity and promotional material as well. And I think through a number of items, through the website, Green Flag Management Plan, community users, the surveys that we're doing at the moment with the community groups, and more signage certainly down at the site. Because I think this will be a good product to advertise, and I can't see any reason why it won't become more popular than it is at the moment. And I think by keeping a little bit of heritage in there as well, I think is wise, because we have already had some feedback, you know, from certain members of the public that is, that you know, they would rather retain the historic fleet. So hence why we feel the need to keep 2 or 3. But yeah, you're quite right. I think it would be good to put a publicity pack together, looking at all the different ways that we can publicise this, which I'm sure we can.
Maybe we can have some sort of a launch event with all the cabinet members in boats and doing a little race around the island.
I would be happy to arrange that.
Nice pond leader. Launch.
Oh, yes.
Didn't realise. Thank you. Councillor Palmer.
Couple of concerns or questions. Do the boats actually charge up as they're running, or do they have to go into a docking system to be charged up?
Each boat will have its own docking station on the harbour and will be charged in between journeys.
Yeah, the concern I've got with that is if we get a busy time in the summer and every boat is out and people are waiting for them coming back in, they're not going to get charged up. So again, you know, we could be, and that's why I wondered whether, with it having its own battery, like a car, it charges itself up as it goes, and then you give it a full charge at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That was a concern.
There's a turnaround period of the existing fleet. A lot are being bailed out, believe it or not, in between journeys. That will obviously not be needed, and they do charge very quickly. Again, we don't, going back to the original part regarding the number of fleet, I think it's pitched about right in number than us buying too many and then having numerous ones sat at the side. If that became an issue where we became that busy that the queues, then I think, you know, we would probably be coming back with a request for some more. I feel at this point, and it's not an exact science, but I think there will be enough. That doesn't really worry us. They do top up very quickly within a couple of minutes after each journey. If you equate that to bailing out the ones which are coming back with water in, it's probably even quicker.
I wasn't sure how quick the charge got, whether it was going to be an hour between the charges.
The principle is a lot of charging on a regular basis very quickly, as opposed to putting like a car battery where you do it overnight.
The spur set I've always with it.
And the other point is decommissioning petrol storage chamber. If you're going to keep 4 teak boats on that are still running off petrol, you will not be doing that, will you? You'll still need a change to store.
Well, we already have a petrol store, a fuel store down there for the grounds maintenance teams, which you can house enough fuel to run the 3
Right,
boats.
so this can still go ahead?
Yes.
That was all. Yes.
Councillor Threlfall.
Thank you. Well, most of it's been said. A robust business plan was one of the issues I was bringing up, which Karen's already mentioned, and I would have liked to have seen a more robust business plan around the investment that we're going to make. But that seems fair enough. There's savings, which I'm glad to see, and I know these boats because I have done a little bit of work on the side. They are much more environmentally friendly than the boats that we've got now. They're a huge pollutant, the boats that we use now, so I'm glad to see that. And the last question, have we trialled any of these boats? And you know, if there's issues when we have got the boats on the lake, you know, the trials and guarantees that, you know, if anything crops up.
Yeah, good point on that one. I mean, my biggest fear was that we ordered one of these boats and they're not powerful enough to get very Fairhaven, which can be quite, you know, challenging at periods of the year. What we've done to preempt that, we've had a couple of people who manufacture these to talk us through the mechanics and certainly the battery power, which was one of the key things for me. The hull and the keel and all that kind of stuff looks quite robust, you can see that, but obviously how powerful they are because they are bespokely made. So we've had 1 or 2 people up to show us the power packs and demonstrate certain things on those. and one of the officers in his own time, I hasten to add, has actually seen one of these on the Thames as a demonstration. Before we award the tender officially, we have put in the tender document that we need to see an on-site demonstration with a very similar vessel. It wouldn't be the exact one because it's like buying a new car. If you're buying a Mondeo, it would be a Mondeo and it would look like that, but it would be bespoke and making to your specification, which these will be. But before we award that tender, we have put in that we have a demonstration, and we're hoping to do that next week. So again, I'm happy to invite people to come down and have a look and sit in and see what it feels. If we're not happy at that demonstration, and so on, we want to award the tender.
And is there room for champagne in the rear of the boat? Just a joke, yeah.
Any more questions, colleagues? No? Thank you for attending, gentlemen, and it gives me pleasure in my role as portfolio holder at this point to propose the recommendation on page 3, which I'm not intending to read out because we've all got copies of the minutes, of the agenda rather. So I would like to propose that. Do I have a second?
I would like to second it.
Thank you. Sorry. Can we all show our approval of that recommendation?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.